July 24th, 1981. Beverly Hills. On that night, inside the crystal ballroom of the Beverly Hilton Hotel, Hollywood's power brokers and martial arts royalty stood shoulder to shoulder at the International Action Stars Gala, a carefully staged evening meant to unite East and West. Tuxedos, champagne, flashing cameras, and one man who didn't quite belong yet, Jackie Chan. Nobody in that room knew what was about to happen. Not the Hollywood executives, not the Hong Kong producers, and certainly not Jackie Chan, who stood near the buffet table adjusting his tie, already feeling out of place in the tuxedo that seemed 2 sizes too formal for his body. The International Action Stars Gala was Golden Harvest's attempt to bridge 2 worlds. East meets West, Kung Fu meets Hollywood muscle. Sylvester Stallone stood by the bar, still riding high from Rocky II. Arnold Schwarzenegger, barely a year past Conan the Barbarian's filming, practiced his English with a German accent thick enough to cut. And somewhere in the growing crowd, Chuck Norris moved through conversations like a ghost in a GI, his reputation preceding him like thunder before lightning. Jackie had been warned. "Be diplomatic," his manager had said. "These Americans, they don't understand your humor." But Jackie wasn't thinking about diplomacy. He was thinking about the bruises still healing on his ribs from his latest Hong Kong shoot. He was thinking about how different everything felt here. The food, the air, the way people smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. Then the reporter appeared. She was young, blonde, carrying a microphone with the NBC Peacock logo gleaming under the lights. Her cameraman followed 2 steps behind, already recording. Mr. Chan, she pushed through the crowd with the determination of someone chasing a deadline. "Can I get a quick word?" Jackie's English was improving, but fast, not natural. He smiled, the same smile that had charmed Hong Kong audiences, and nodded. "You've been making waves with your unique style," she began, thrusting the microphone toward his face. "How would you compare your approach to martial arts cinema with the American style? Say someone like Chuck Norris." The question hung in the air. Jackie's mind raced. He wanted to explain the difference, how American fight scenes were often rigid, choreographed with military precision, but lacking the philosophical depth, the spiritual flow that made martial arts an art rather than just combat. He wanted to talk about the soul of movement, the poetry in action. His mouth opened. Words formed. But somewhere between his brain and his lips, English betrayed him. "American karate is..." He paused, searching for the word straightforward, but finding only simple. Simple, meaningless. This landed like a dropped glass. Silence radiated outward from Jackie in concentric circles. The reporter's eyes widened. Her cameraman kept rolling. And behind Jackie, close enough that his cologne arrived before the man himself, Chuck Norris stopped mid-step. The room didn't freeze. That only happens in movies. Instead, it transformed. Conversations didn't stop but lowered. Heads turned with the mechanical precision of surveillance cameras. Somewhere near the bar, Stallone muttered, "Oh shit," loud enough for 3 people to hear. Chuck Norris stepped into Jackie's peripheral vision. He was shorter than Jackie expected, but carried himself with the density of a collapsing star. His tuxedo looked lived in, comfortable, like he wore formal wear the same way other men wore bathrobes. His eyes, blue, cold as Los Angeles swimming pools, fixed on Jackie with the intensity of a targeting system. "Meaningless." Chuck's voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. "That's an interesting word choice." Jackie felt his stomach drop 3 floors. No, I mean..." His English, never reliable pressure, completely abandoned him. "I mean, the spirit. The spirit." Chuck took another step closer. They were now face to face, close enough that Jackie could count the lines around the man's eyes. "You think American martial arts has no spirit?" The Golden Harvest executives materialized from nowhere, hands raised in placating gestures, speaking rapid-fire Cantonese to Jackie while trying to smile apologetically at Chuck. But Chuck wasn't looking at them. He was looking at Jackie with the expression of a man who'd just been told his life's work was meaningless on national television. "Perhaps," Chuck said, his voice dropping even lower, "we should discuss this privately." It wasn't a suggestion. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as Chuck walked toward the ballroom's side exit. He didn't look back to see if Jackie followed. He didn't need to. The gravitational pull of the situation was absolute. Jackie's manager grabbed his arm. "Don't go. Let me handle this." But Jackie was already moving. Pride, stupidity, or maybe just the knowledge that running would make everything worse. Whatever the motivation, his feet carried him toward the exit where Chuck had disappeared. The service corridor was colder than the ballroom. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in industrial white. Chuck stood 20 feet away, his back to Jackie, hands clasped behind him in a posture that could have been meditation or barely controlled rage. "Mr. Norris, Do you know," Chuck interrupted, still not turning around, "how many years I spent in Korea, learning, training, respecting the art?" Jackie opened his mouth, closed it. Chuck turned. 7 years. 7 years before I even thought about teaching. And you, he took 3 steps forward. "You call it meaningless?" "My English is bad." Jackie's voice cracked with desperation. "I wanted to say different, not meaningless. Your style, my style, different." "Different." Chuck tested the word like it might explode. "Different." The silence stretched between them like a rubber band pulled to breaking point. Then Chuck did something unexpected. He laughed. Not a warm laugh, not a forgiving laugh, but a laugh that acknowledged the absurdity of 2 martial artists in tuxedos standing in a service corridor on the verge of something neither wanted, but both felt obligated to pursue. "Your English is bad," Chuck agreed, "but your timing is worse." He started removing his jacket, methodically, draped it over a nearby maintenance cart. Jackie's heart hammered against his ribs. "Mr. Norris, please." "You wanted to talk about spirit?" Chuck loosened his bow tie. "Let's talk about spirit." And there it was, the moment that would define the rest of the night. Jackie could apologize, could bow out, could let his managers smooth everything over with money and diplomatic language. But something in Chuck's eyes told him that wasn't an option anymore. This had moved beyond words the moment those 2 syllables, meaningless, had left his mouth. Jackie removed his jacket. The corridor suddenly felt smaller. "No hitting the face," Jackie said quietly. "We both have to work tomorrow." Chuck's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Fair." They circled each other in the industrial corridor like wolves testing each other's scent. No cameras, no audience, just 2 men and the weight of misunderstood words hanging between them. Chuck moved first, a testing jab, clean and economical. Jackie slipped it, his body responding with the muscle memory of 10,000 fight scenes. But Chuck was already following up, a low kick aimed at Jackie's lead leg that connected with enough force to send shockwaves up his thigh. This was real. Jackie responded with a spinning back fist that Chuck ducked under with minimal movement. They were reading each other now, calibrating. Chuck's style was exactly what Jackie had tried to describe. Linear, powerful, efficient, but not meaningless. Never meaningless. Each movement carried the weight of years, of discipline, of respect for the art. Jackie feinted high, went low, swept Chuck's front leg. But Chuck had already shifted his weight, bringing down a hammer fist that Jackie barely rolled away from. It struck the floor with a sound like a judge's gavel. They separated, breathing hard. "Your technique is sloppy," Chuck said. "Your comedy is worse," Jackie shot back, and immediately regretted it. But Chuck laughed, a real laugh this time. They came together again, faster now. Chuck's ridge hand strike whistled past Jackie's ear. Jackie's tiger claw grabbed for Chuck's wrist but found only air. They were both too good, too trained, too aware that one solid hit could end this with a hospital visit and a career-damaging scandal. Jackie went for a shoulder throw. Chuck countered mid-lift, nearly reversing it. They ended up pressed against the corridor wall, breathing into each other's faces like exhausted boxers in a clinch. "You train hard," Chuck admitted. "You too," Jackie gasped. They disengaged, stepped back. Both men's tuxedo shirts were dark with sweat. Jackie's bow tie hung loose around his neck like a broken promise. Chuck's knuckles were red from near misses against the concrete wall. The door at the end of the corridor opened. Stallone's voice echoed down. "You two done measuring dicks?" "Press is asking questions." Jackie looked at Chuck. "Truce?" Chuck extended his hand. Jackie stared at it for a moment that lasted 3 lifetimes. Then he took it. "Truce." Chuck's grip was iron. "Your English really is terrible. Your hair really is perfect." They both smiled, genuine, exhausted, the kind of smiles that only come after violence nearly happens, but doesn't. Walking back into the ballroom felt like returning from war. The crowd parted again, but differently now. Curious. Concerned. The NBC reporters stood ready, microphone raised like a weapon. Chuck beat her to it. He threw his arm around Jackie's shoulders, a gesture that could have been fraternal or controlling. Nobody could quite tell. "Folks," Chuck announced to the room, "there's been a misunderstanding. Jackie here was trying to explain the philosophical differences between Eastern and Western martial arts. His English got tangled up." He squeezed Jackie's shoulder hard enough to leave marks. "But we've clarified everything. Haven't we, Jackie?" Jackie nodded so hard his neck hurt. "Yes, clarified. Chuck Norris is, very meaningful." The room erupted in relieved laughter. But as the crowd surged forward with questions and cameras, as the Golden Harvest executives exhaled years of held breath, as Schwarzenegger raised his champagne glass in a toast to international friendship, Jackie caught Chuck's eye one more time. Chuck winked. It was a wink that said, "We both know what almost happened. We both know we're lucky it didn't. We both know this story ends here." The official record would show nothing. No fight, no confrontation. Just a minor language barrier smoothed over by 2 professionals. The NBC footage would be edited down to Jackie's garbled compliment and Chuck's diplomatic response. But years later, when Jackie Chan became an international superstar and Chuck Norris became a living meme of indestructibility, they would occasionally cross paths at industry events. And each time, without fail, they would nod to each other with the recognition of men who once stood in a service corridor and chose words over war. Almost. The bruise on Jackie's thigh took 3 weeks to fade. He never told anyone where it came from. When asked, he would just smile and say, "Stunt work." You know how it is. Chuck Norris, when asked about the July 24th gala, would always say the same thing. "Jackie Chan is one of the most dedicated martial artists I've ever met. We had a great conversation that night about the future of action cinema." He never mentioned the corridor. Neither did Jackie. But sometimes, late at night, Jackie would touch that faded bruise and remember the moment when his broken English nearly broke everything else. And he would think about spirit, American spirit, Chinese spirit, the universal spirit of warriors who know when to fight and when to walk away. The Beverly Hilton service corridor was repainted 6 months later. The maintenance staff never understood the scuff marks on the walls or the slight crack in the floor tile near the emergency exit. They never would. Some truths exist in the space between what's spoken and what's understood. Some moments live only in the memory of those who survived them. And sometimes the most important fights are the ones that never officially happened. July 24th, 1981, 23:47 p.m. 2 men in ruined tuxedos. A handshake, a wink, and the unspoken agreement that this story would die in that corridor. Until now.